I thought we were.
Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Taphouse in Baltimore. Ron Furman is here to destroy my program today. We're at Cooper's. We're not even at his place. Do you have a crab cake yet? You don't have a crab cake, right?
I don't have a crab cake.
It's crab cake
yet.
tour. So we were at a place with a crab cake, even though I had the ahi tuna. It was delicious.
I'll make a crab cake for you.
I'll get the gumbo for you. We are at Cooper's in Fells Point. It is Fleet Week. There's a lot of Phillies fans here. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. We have the Gold Rush Sevens doublers. We're promoting Fells Point. Ron came over. He's like, what do you need from me, man? A beer. I don't do rock and roll anymore. The festival will be over. I'm like, I just like having you on, man. You're my rock and roll friend. You've clearly forgotten half the bands you even booked in the Max's on Broadway. I thought of you yesterday. So yesterday, R.E.M. showed up everywhere on my timeline because they went into the Songwriters Hall of Fame on Thursday night.
Max's.
Peter Buck played at Max's several times, and every time he did, I wrote about it, and I came down and hung out with him because he was a good dude. And now they're like
famous.
Yeah,
more famous than they were.
And the bands that played your place are breaking up, either going into the hall. The DBs are reuniting, so maybe we could bring them back. But I know you feel like the rock and roll was so last century, but I can't let that go. The good times I had at Max's on Broadway.
It was great times. I mean, we had I enjoyed it. It just
it fell apart.
It wasn't. I had kids. I needed to make a living. I was a patron of the arts, and it was time to put my big boy pants on and sell some beer.
So how did beer happen? I mean, I guess in a Fells Point way, 35 years ago when you and I met, there was music at your place. There was music in a lot of places, but it was DJs, it was dancing, it was beer, it was younger people. It was seafood down here at Bertha's and, the places on Thames Street. The beer thing, the craft beer thing, I remember saying to Hugh Sisson and a bunch of people, how are you going to put Budweiser and Miller and Coors out of it? How are you ever going to sell this motor oil dark beer that's served warm like they do it in Europe?
Wait,
all that stuff.
Not all of it's motor oil. Come
I
on.
love it. No, I'm thinking the way I thought in 1990 about a Beck's Dark or about anything dark, quite frankly. A Foster's Lager was like exotic at that point, and Heineken came over. It was exotic,
Lowenbauer. Remember Grolsch with the flip top?
With the flip top, with a little plastic top on it? Yeah.
No, it was a porcelain top, not a plastic top.
Porcelain? It had like a
porcelain with a little rubber gasket, and it had a metal thing.
A little metal thing you pulled off. It was like an old milk jug.
Yeah.
Right,
and it was, I couldn't stand it, but that's okay. Don't tell anybody.
You sell it, though.
You sell it, though.
So I had occasion.
That was me. Other people liked it.
When I think of so I'll think of Hugh Sisson. I think of his brewery and his thing.
The man's a god.
But when I think of you, I think of like the Brick Skeller in D.C. That was the first place that had like my Venezuelan beer Polar that I could go down to D.C.
The difference was we had whatever we said we had on the menu was in stock.
Right. Well, you would go down there, drive down there, and be like, "What do you mean you don't have it?" That happened to me.
They had 500 or 1,000 beers in the menu, and you'd order something.
Sometimes they had it, but I had the good fortune.
They were great. They really were great.
I was over in Germany. My wife's
had let you out of the country?
In and out, yes.
Okay.
It was tougher to get back in. They didn't mind letting me leave. The Canadian guys told me that one time when I forgot my passport. So I went over to Germany, and I fell in love with this German lager, or Kolsch, called Zuner. It's spelled Sunner. It's spelled like Sunner, but they pronounce it Zuna. That's the German dude that saved my wife's life told me how to pronounce it. So I had it over there, and I'm like, I want to get this beer. And my wife's like, Furman probably has it. Check it out. So I looked on your little.
Have it?
I talked to your daughter because I'm connected. By the way, congratulations on all these grandbabies you're making over there.
Well, I'm not making them.
And she said to me, we only have it during Oktoberfest. So I'm like, I screwed the pooch last October, November, September, forgot about it. But she said you guys get it only in the kegs, and you get it during Oktoberfest.
So you'll be.
So
down.
you do get something that like I could order or wait on.
There you go.
Do people call ahead and ask if you have beers? That happens every day, right?
All the time, yeah.
What defines whether Max's Taphouse has a beer or not at this point? Because you're trying to have a little bit of everything, right? At any point, a couple hundred different kind of beers, right?
What defines it is Jason, my manager.
Okay.
He lives for it. So
having it in stock is important.
He's pretty particular about what he picks. and he tries to have a, large range of beers, different stuff, things for different palates. But then again, sometimes we, like we just finished doing our sour beer fest. And there's still a lot of sour
I don't love
beers.
sours, though,
Maybe if you
it's an acquired taste.
Try them all. Maybe you'll find one you like,
Okay, so that is a thing about beer in your place that if I come in and say, can I try a little something? No problem. I can try it.
Well,
as long as it's not in a bottle.
You can buy a little sampler.
Okay.
Yeah, and I look, you're over 21. This isn't Baskin Robbins,
Well, I understand that, but you want to know whether, that's the one thing about, I did a brewery tour since last time we got together. Last time we got together, was the plague on, or it was like right around then, right?
There was a plague?
Yeah, there was a plague. You and I did the show. Has it been 5? It couldn't have been 5 years, right? Tony Tochterman came by that day. Your wife was there.
I'll be almost I'll be 67 years old in another month.
Well, you look good.
My brain's a little.
Well, the last time we got together, there was a plague, and since then, Fells Point, the Fleet Week, and coming down here, there have been a lot of advocates for the people that invested down here on things going on weekends. How's business? I mean, I'm down here today. It was hard to get parked. It was hard to get in. It was hard to get out. But it's Fleet Week, and the Phillies
drove a motorcycle. I had no problem.
Well, I would have got. I don't know. I would get on the back of a motorcycle. I'm not sure if I want you driving it.
I don't want you on the back of my motorcycle.
Are you good for life? You're safe. No accidents. You're good.
I
was worried about you.
I had one
old
a
hippies.
long time ago.
We'll keep you on the mic. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's subtle. That's what I do. I'm professional. So the beer business. How did you do this? How did you envision?
Well, I woke up. Well, let me back up. Even when we had live music, if you remember, we still had the coolers behind the bar, and we had probably 400 different bottles and cans,
I would always see them in the refrigerator. You had the glass.
Right.
So when I came into your place, even then, I'd have to look over shoulders and down low, usually, because it wasn't up high. It was down low. And you're looking, and you would just see all these colors of bottles, and you're like, oh, that's from Germany. It must be good, right, is what you think, right?
Well, the deal is, ask the bartender. He can recommend something,
Okay.
I always tell people, walk in, tell them what you like. Even if you like Budweiser, tell them what you like and step up to a real beer, not a TV beer. Not that Budweiser's bad.
TV beer. You got to get a name for it. I love that.
TV beer.
They spend a lot of money keeping my business alive, so I'm appreciative of that.
A lot of people love it. They're riding around on their tractor, cutting the lawn. They want a Budweiser, whatever. I don't knock it. Look, if you drink a Bud in Baltimore and you drink a Bud in Brooklyn, or you drink
the same beer.
Bud on the other side of the world, it's the exact same beer. You got to hand it to them. They are excellent at what they do. I'm not knocking it. I just, when I woke up one morning, I said, I don't want to try the same thing twice, ever.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff. The only thing I want to try once is my wife, and that's it.
All right, there you go. Ron Furman is here.
If Mrs. Furman was listening.
I knew this would get spicy. I knew without her here to referee.
I don't want her, Yeah, anyway.
You are a lifer entrepreneur in Fells Point.
I've been here.
What?
Let's get back to the beer.
What? Oh, you want to do? Well, I mean, but what drew you to here? You've managed bands. I mentioned the Woodies the other day, and the Woodbury.
Greenberry Woods.
Greenberry Woods. Is the name of the residency going up to Pimlico, right?
I lived there at one time. So did they.
That's
That's how they came up with the name.
Well, then they became the Woodies, right? I knew when I started seeing you promoting them, I'm like, oh, that's the name of the community up there that once a year I get drunk, go up the hill.
They needed a name so they could figure out how to get home.
But you did a lot of different things. What settled on Fells Point for you? Was it the music that brought you down here in the bar business?
My wife and I used to come down here for dinner, and we found out the place was available, and the rest is history. So,
but you've never done anything else.
That was almost 40 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And how many other people, Bertha's we saw changed hands. How many other people are still here 40 years later? Like, I mean that.
If somebody told me I'm the old man on the block, I think
you are.
Yeah, I don't think.
I haven't thought about that before. What's that make me being a patron of yours all these years? I was
an old patron.
I parked my car. Can I complain about Fells Point just for 1 second? I tried to park. Right. I tried to park down here this morning, and I got here about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I went down to the Living Classrooms building. By the way, David Rubenstein, new Orioles owner, is doing a thing down there today. And I pulled into the lot where I've parked a million times, and it used to be meters, and it used to be a couple bucks. And now it's a pay code, and you get your QR. And I pull it down. I'm like, all right, I'll play the game. I put my license in. I put my phone number in. And it pulled up, said 4 hours, $32.
In the parking garage.
I'm from Dundalk.
In the
No,
parking.
not in the garage, in the lot, in the flat lot against the water, right? At 11:30 on a Friday with $32 to park for 4 hours. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
How many spots were available at the time?
A couple dozen in there.
Yeah, okay.
So, but they were charging like Uber. Like, it's obvious, like, it's less. It can't be $8 an hour around the clock.
God
So,
bless
nonetheless, I
entrepreneurship.
drove out up onto Broadway, Old School, right past, your place up that way. And I parked 3 blocks. I parked at, I grew up on Bank Street between Bank and Golf.
You needed the exercise.
Absolutely. And I
Well-
got rid of the equipment. So on the way back down, I'm coming toward your place. And I don't know how you feel about your neighbors, but I passed Rodo's. And this speaks to how long I've been coming to Fells Point. I took a selfie of me in front of Rodo's, and I put up a status that I might have gone in there a few times before I was 21. So this is 1985, 6, 7. When did you get Max's?
1985, we bought the place. I changed it to Max's in 86.
Band started in 86, 87. That's when I was at the Sun.
Real band.
I was 19 years old then. I think you
We
let
wouldn't
me
let you in.
to review a show.
Yeah, maybe you would.
I think
Maybe I would.
I think I
We were pretty tough.
I really do think you let me in because I was reviewing shows. I mean, I could probably find the byline at my place because I didn't turn 21 till 89. And Hammerjacks, my editor got to – Bud Becker loves to tell a story of him coming down to the Sun and meeting with my editor to let me into Hammerjacks when I was 18, 19 or 20. And the only rule I had was I wasn't allowed to drink. And I live, I never broke that rule. I wouldn't have pissed off Louie. I wouldn't have broke that with you either. I mean, I'm a man of honor like that. Like, I didn't need to be drinking in there to losing my job. It was a good gig.
Right.
Me sitting on your bar.
I would have let you in.
Was a good gig.
If you were.
I
doing a show.
think I did.
Name the band.
Well, bands I saw at your place. Peter Himmelman. Rembrandt's for sure. The night the lights went out and we did the candles.
Was that
We've
incredible?
That was one of the most memorable concerts.
So your listeners
ever.
need to understand.
Tell the story because I love this story.
So the lights go out and the power is not
There
going
was
to
a
come back
blackout.
on.
It was literally a blackout.
Completely blackout.
Yeah.
And the brothers, I'm talking to them, and they said, Ron, the show must go on. And I said, give me a minute. And I ran across the street to the hotel. I got a box of candles. We had candles everywhere.
I remember you getting up on the
amazing.
stage, and it wasn't much bigger than it's no bigger than it is now, right? So it is what it is. It's smaller because you didn't have the second side for a period, right? Did you have the second side the whole time?
You mean the two buildings?
The two
side
buildings,
guards?
yes.
No, I didn't have those back then.
Right. It was just one row house, one corner row house.
No, it was two.
It was still two?
Yeah, it was two buildings.
I'm trying to picture
735, 736.
Well,
He came in on the side door.
when the stage was at the foot of the steps, right?
No, stage.
I'm talking about the stage.
Stage-
You're coming the door. Stage is where your bar is now on the right.
When you came in the door on the side door, you came in.
The corner
You went
door.
through the vestibule, and then you walked in. The bar would have been on your left, where the staircase is coming down. There was no staircase.
Right. Okay.
And then in the middle of the building, right where the bar is, right under where the prescription sign is now, that was the stage. It was 20 by 10. I remember
4 people's a lot of people on 20 by 10 with drums.
Nah, look, we had bands that were like 11, 12 people in it. There was an artist that played there from Africa, and the guy must have been 60, 70, probably 70 years old, and he's dancing, and he dances right off the stage.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think somebody caught him. He was okay, but...
Well, I mean, you could legitimately walk off the stage out onto the street from there. It was close
Buddy
enough.
Guy used to play.
Okay, he'd
and
go out
Buddy
in the
would
street.
go out and stop traffic. He also used to go in the ladies' room, too, and play. But it was great back then.
Special rules for Buddy Guy. Ron Furman is here. He is the proprietor of Max's on Broadway. We're telling all stories. So this night the Rembrandts came. I also was there the night Danny Bonaducci and David Cassidy came through.
2 sold-out shows on a Monday night. It was the beginning of his comeback tour, and they wanted to play a little tiny place. And it's funny, you mentioned the stage. The stage was a foot high. So Danny comes in, and his crew had set up the stage, and they found this part of a carny booth for a festival that was just like a little fence. And they leaned it up against the stage, and Danny walks in, and they go, Hey, Danny, that's your barricade.
Keep the adoring fan. Well, they all wanted a piece of David, as I remember it.
Oh, my God. It was
He
insane.
was so good that night.
He
was amazing.
have a bag with love notes in it and a teddy bear and
things that people left for him.
Undergarments that they tossed up on stage that we picked up with rubber gloves.
And that was just Donna Jean Rumbly, by the way. I knew you'd love that. So the Rembrandts
I talked to her yesterday.
I love Donna Jean.
She's a great
one of
gal.
my favorite people. The Rembrandts played. I had interviewed them. And I knew them a little bit through interviewing them and their publicist. And this is they had the song that was on the television show and all that, but they had the big hit, "Baby, That's Just the Way It Is, Babe." So they're going to play that song.
You sing pretty well.
So you get up on stage at that night and you're like, listen, they're going to play. It's dark as hell. Candles are up. They're going to play, but y'all have to be really, really quiet.
And you could have heard a pin drop the whole night.
It was a fireside chat. It was... Everybody was a hush, and they sang like angels. They were like the Everly Brothers, right? They had this incredible harmony.
I sort of wish we had phones back then, so
Videotape.
some of those shows could have been recorded.
Are there any pictures from that night or those?
Well, ask your listeners if you've got anything. Please send them to me. RF at Max's. It'll be 40 years, and I'm trying to put together.
We didn't carry cameras around then.
No, people would sneak them in, and we were real, the artists were real adamant about no cameras, no recording devices, so we would bust on people for it, and I'm kind of upset that we did. The one guy that had all the videotape, he lived in Texas, he had moved to Texas, and he was there when the hurricane was there.
Oh, no, and gone?
And he lost all the videotapes, and we had not put them.
Digitized them.
No, none of them were digitized.
That's why you got to call Towson Transfers. My buddy Greg, that's what he does. He makes sure that these things happen before bad things happen.
I will say this, that I do have some stuff that was recorded on video and on DAT and some cassettes.
What do you have? Did you know you have?
I know I have some Lowen Navarro shows.
Blue Rodeo was your band.
I have Blue Rodeo.
I knew you'd have some Blue Rodeo.
I love Blue Rodeo.
I know you
Blue
did.
Rodeo showed up the first time. They were getting a lot of airplay on HFS. It snowed 6 inches, and they had driven from like Ohio. And I apologized because we didn't sell any tickets. Nobody came because of the snow.
Nobody could get there.
They thought it was funny because in Canada, 6 inches of snow would,
Yeah, we get on our sled and
we'll be there.
Yeah.
So, and plus, anytime you do a show in Canada, you got to drive 1,000 miles to get to the next venue. So it was no big deal for them, and I was really upset about it. There was probably 25 people in the place.
Which is about 15 more than there were for Smashing Pumpkins.
The first time they played.
I was at that Smashing Pumpkins show.
So there's 25 people in the place. They played for 2.5 hours. And it was the most unbelievable show I ever saw. So folks out there, look up Blue Rodeo, midnight.
Didn't they reunite a year or two ago? Did they play some shows
They're still
recently?
playing. They
They're
never
still
stopped playing.
Okay, because I saw them.
And they have a lot of solo albums. Jim and Greg have a lot of solo albums that they put out. They are an amazing band. Kind of not Americana.
Canada.
Yeah, there you go. With, a little country twang to it, but
I love the Bodines. They were similar. They were that roots rock kind of melon campy, but like a little different Canadian version of that. Yeah. Jangly guitars, like Peter Buck.
That's what I love.
Do you still listen to that music?
Oh, all the time.
What's on your iPod, your Apple? What do you do?
iPod.
I have an iPod. I'll pull it out for you. I have it in my bag. I pulled it out twice as me. I had Mark Bryan from Hootie and the Blowfish on this week because he's a Marylander, right? So I'm doing I had Thomas Dolby on last week, so I'm doing a lot of music right now. And I had Mark on, and you mentioned bootlegging shows. Like in your little place, having a little recorder behind the bar.
I might have a Hootie and the Blowfish.
Did they play your place?
I won't tell you what I paid them, but they played every third Thursday.
Early on, before
anybody knew who they were.
I did not know this.
Oh, yeah.
I would have asked Mark about this had I realized this. So I had him on, and I pulled my iPod out.
Do you still have a way to get a hold of him?
Yeah. He showed me his...
Tell him to give me a call.
They're on the road. He showed me his turntable because he was home when we did the show Monday for a couple days. And we were talking about vinyl. And we're talking about how do you get your music? How do you get your music? And everybody, the kids are all getting it on their phone and all. This is my phone. I get texts. Things happen on this phone that I don't want to be interrupted in the middle of a song by like a call or a notification or a Facebook
so you got
status.
An iPod. That's good.
So I have an iPod, but my iPod has a cord, so it doesn't plug into a lot of the Bluetooth speakers. So you have to. I went to the Best Buy to buy a speaker. There was only one speaker out of 100 that had a jack. That has a mini jack in it. So I get the iPod out, and I showed him what a fan I was. I'm like, I got 116 Hootie songs on here. And I looked through, and I'm like, oh, that's a bootleg. I said, let's talk about this. I said, I have a bootleg from 1994 of some first tour, their first big album. I said, listen to it all the time. I said, you mad? You got ripped off. He's like, nah, man, listen to it all the time. I said, I felt like Rerun and, Raj and What's Happening, that I bootlegged the show. But there was a thing about bootlegging shows. Like you with riders and contracts and all of that. Like bands were freaky about that stuff. And now you're trying to find the tapes. You'd sell your soul to have the tape,
Yeah, but most of the time, if we recorded it, we had permission from the band. We were honorable.
If you have that David Cassidy show, I would take it because it was really good. But
it was amazing. He had an incredible band behind him. I mean,
he was great. It was one of the great shows I ever saw.
He was a gentleman. He was, I remember the first thing he did is he said to me, Ron, do you have a phone I could use so I can call my wife?
Really?
That's the first thing he said to me.
The late, great, he was so magnanimous with me. Do you remember Lou Cedrone from the Evening Sun? He was the music critic of the Evening Sun forever. He was I want to say he was David's godfather because he had a special relationship with Shirley Jones, like back in the 50s and 60s through film and cinema. Mm-hmm. So when I was on the phone with David Cassidy, he knew Lou well. And I played the interview. I mean, I have the interview with David. And I think he even said, I'm bringing Danny Bonaducci. And Danny was just about out of dry out at that point, trying to try out his comedy career. He went on he's done radio for 30 years.
I heard he just retired.
He was in Philly, Seattle. He was
in Philly. And
does he have Parkinson's or he has a really horrible Danny Bonaducci. He was a really good guy too. But David, one of the few times I was ever in your dressing rooms upstairs, because they were as big as his table.
No,
was,
come on. They were
but
bigger
but
than
David
that.
Cassidy invited me up
that's the one we let
between
you
those
in.
shows.
That was David's dressing room.
It was David?
I mean, not David's.
Danny's dressing room.
Yeah, it had a toilet and a shower in it.
I was upstairs with both of them. That's one of the few times I can ever remember being up there. And it was very prideful for rock and roll to have like graffiti on the walls. The staircase had to be a little crooked and things. That's rock and roll back in the day, Your place was heart and soul, blood and guts. 20 by 10 stage is what it was.
We had a lot of good times. Does
it make you happy that you lost so much money and I enjoyed it so much?
Yeah, sure.
It was a good time.
No,
it really was.
You know what? It was a great time, and I really miss it. And if I had been smarter, maybe I could have made it, work out. Today, it seems like it's easier to do music, but, you got to start with some cash.
Do they bother you when you're doing a festival? Like right now, there's bands going on. There's Fells Point. Are you involved in any of the music scene down here at all? Or are you you're out of it now? I mean, do they come to you and say what kind of?
I did it last year with Patrick, and honestly, it was so funny. I called a friend of mine who's a promoter out west, big promoter, and I said, Mike, I'm trying to book talent for this show, and I don't know who anybody is anymore. And he laughed and he said, Ron, I don't know who anybody is either.
Right.
And he does it every day. He books a lot of rooms, big stuff, real big stuff.
Well, you got to know what you're doing in that business because that business is changing. Your business changed probably three times in the 10 years you did it.
A lot of it, these guys can do it on data. Back in the old days, I got on when somebody called me and pitched me about doing a show, I got on the phone and I called 3 or 4 record stores.
You called me.
I would call you.
You would call me. You really would.
I would call Roberta. I would call Sam.
These bands, the Rembrandts. I'm trying. They got a song, Ron. All right. I'll try to. We'll bring them in. It was kind of like that.
I did those a few things, but I would call people, and get a good feel of. Are they something I'm going to make money on or today, or is it something I'm going to make money on tomorrow?
Build them, help build them.
I mean, like Smashing Pumpkins, you said it. The first time they played at Max's, nobody was there. But the second time, you couldn't get in and you couldn't buy a ticket.
Well, that was part of my role as a music critic. Is their publicist would call me and say, "I got a great hot band called the Smashing Pumpkins because the record company put hundreds of thousands of dollars into them, so they leaned on them and said they're going to get a push. HFS is going to play this record whether they want to or not because that's the way the industry worked." And then it was like some flopped, some failed, some worked, some took 3 albums, some never happened. Springsteen took 5 albums to happen. Back in that era. Rush had 5 or 6 albums before they were ever anything, and a lot of those bands went by the wayside before they ever got to you.
There's a lot of bands that we played that, one-hit wonders but a lot
I
of
saw
them,
Material Issue play your place one time before Jim
God.
Ellison killed himself. That was a great band there.
They played like 3 or 4 times, and they also played an outdoor concert for me.
Like a Bo Hager's thing, maybe? Did you have something to do with that? No?
No, I did. Well, I did one show at Bo Hager's, which
Smithereens.
No, keep going. David, yeah.
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
remember.
You'll remember the band.
Yeah.
Part of being 67 and an old rocker.
Huge band. Come on.
I don't know. You said
anyway,
David.
let's move on.
I don't know. I'm out.
Let's move on.
What David Cassidy?
Dave something.
Matthews.
Dave
Matthews.
Dave
That's
Matthews
right. Dave
played.
Matthews played there. He did. Thank you.
He played the show there.
All right.
And
that is right.
That's right. But that's a long story for another
we
day.
forget about these things. We do. Ron Furman.
The Spin Doctors out on the square, and somebody told me there was, I think, 20,000 people that weekend in Fells Point. I mean, we did the shows we did out on the square for, this is a good story. So Donna Leonard came to me. She was working for Preakness Celebration.
Okay.
And she said, "Ron, you can't use the Preakness name anymore." And I said, "Okay, no problem." She said, "Well, what about your festival?" I said, "I got another name." She goes, "Well, what are you going to call it?"
Bud Light Nights.
I said, "We're going to call it the Freakness Festival." And she goes, "Oh, my God, Joe's going to shit."
Just call it Preakness.
No, I called it the Freakness Festival. So the last 2 years we did it, we called it the Freakness Festival.
I'm going to have to look that up.
That was 90.
Early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s.
Well, I've been on the air since 91 into 92.
Might have been 96.
I probably came to it. I remember the Bud Light Nights. I remember them doing things down in Rashford. I mean, the Preakness is one thing we've squandered here that I hope we get back. Because this city had a lot of mojo for that at one point, and bringing people together.
It's like the Dead let you bootleg their music, and
sure.
That's part of the whole allure. Preakness didn't want me to use the name. Okay, I won't use the name. Did they make a mistake? Because my event was huge, yet their events. Donna, that was the year I think they lost like $1 million. They were trying to bring the Kentucky Derby feel
right.
to Baltimore, and they had a grandmother named Deborah Harry was playing, and
I remember that.
Yeah, and
it flopped.
It was all.
Oh, I know it wasn't good. I remember that. I was part of promoting that.
We had 20,000 people, so.
We got to hit the Spin Doctors in 96. They were hot. Ron Furman is here. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. We have Gold Rush 7 doublers. We're giving these away here. We're at Cooper's in Fells.
I get one?
Yeah, of course, you're 21.
Is it a winner?
Well, they were touched by John Martin the other day. I did have a $2 winner at this table a little while ago.
What do I
You scratch. You scratch, and you download, and you get your little bonus over here, your bonus Gold Rush over here.
You're going to show me how to do this.
Ron runs Max's Taphouse and what do I call it? Taphouse and
Max's Taphouse.
There's
just
no
Max's Taphouse.
Taphouse.
And soon we're going to take those sidebars and we're going to come up with something that's top secret. So you'll have to keep checking back on our website, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you do.
You come in all low-key on your little motorcycle, but you're like a serial entrepreneur. You're a lifer.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing is, as somebody that's owned a brick-and-mortar bar in Fells Point for 40 years now, changing with the times is like you've had to. Right, you have to adapt.
Constantly changed.
Right,
everything we're always doing something. So,
what's the most effective thing you do these days?
Sleep.
Spoken like a real AARP guy.
You know what? It's when I wake up in the morning and I tell my wife I love her. That's the most effective thing I can do.
Look at you.
Yeah.
How many years for you?
She's gonna go bullshit.
I know. How many years for you?
We will be married 42 years in July.
And these grandbabies are happening now, right?
It's really neat.
Look at that smile.
Yeah.
Everybody that's a grandfather that I know and love a long time, when I see them in this light now, I get this twinkle. I'm not a grandfather. So, my kid's 39. I could be there.
They're out on the square. I can bring them over if you want. You can interview the baby.
It would twinkle me. Your daughter at least got back to me. And tell her I want some Zunner beer, Sunner. We're down here for an incredible celebration. It's Fleet Week. And I had all the folks from Living Classrooms on last week with Patrick up in at the Coopers up in Mays Chapel. And we talked about celebration. And look, man, you're old enough to remember the City Fair. You're old enough to remember when the Preakness mattered. You're old enough to remember the Freakness, as well as the Preakness and Bud Light nights and events. Celebration was an incredible thing, but this Fleet Week...
I'm old enough to remember the riots in the 60s.
You're old enough to remember Spirit of 76 and Harbor Place opening.
Oh, my God,
Spirit
of 76.
Yeah,
let's bring it back.
That begat city fairs. It begat the harbor and the growth of the city. We've seen it rise. We've seen it fall. We've seen the wire, all that stuff. But it's things like this, seeing these planes flying over. And when I was driving over here before the $32 parking, I was downtown and I came east off of Pratt Street. And there's some construction going on over east of Central Avenue. And as I'm pulling through, all the construction workers are holding their phones up to the sky and they're all looking up. And I was driving. And this Fleet Week thing, when the plane started going through, everybody is just...
You didn't look up.
Well, I couldn't look up because I had a roof of the car. No, I was at the red light, and I'm trying to look in my rear view mirror. I'm trying to, I didn't see a plane till I got down there and got parked because they move so fast. But Fleet Week's cool, and this is something you guys have put a lot of effort into this. It's going to happen again 2 years from now, but this is a building block for Baltimore. I believe that in June. This is a hell of a weekend, Ron.
This is great. Now, if I win $1 million, this will be great. Oh,
jeez, you want to go back to be with your family.
I'm trying to promote.
I'm trying to promote Max's. What we're trying to do. Trying to promote the square.
Well, you know what?
You got bands down here all weekend. You mentioned you were the one that originally put the bands down here. It's a thing now. You have the whole thing blocked off today.
Well, not me. This is Patrick's deal.
Okay.
So hats off to Patrick. Kudos. Second best bar in Fells Point.
I'll let him know that.
Yeah. Well, we go back.
But leadership is important.
Every interview we do, each of us try to get it out first about.
Well, he's got 2 bars, so
Yeah, but we're number 1. He's number 2. Let's keep it straight, And I have something that Chat GPT wrote that basically he said in Chat GPT that
you're using AI against him. Is that what you're doing?
I would have to die first for him to take the number 1 spot.
Well, that's why I brought you over. That's why I brought you to his bar, because his bar needs help, because he's number 2,
He has been quoted as saying I was his mentor,
Leadership down here, though, in all sincerity. I know you guys are buddies. You were doing this friendship thing at the foot of President Street, honking and waving. I saw you out on the street with a sign one morning.
Yes, I was.
I was coming over to...
no, that was me with the squeegee in my hand.
No, you had Welcome to Baltimore signs, didn't you? You did something like that, right?
We were telling people to come down and, go to the retailers, go to the restaurants, come spend your money in Fells Point. We need it.
Well, that's why you're here today.
And by the way, Fells Point is the jewel of Baltimore.
It is.
It is really a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place, and it's a great way to enjoy an afternoon. Come on down, come have lunch, have dinner.
It's very active right now. And the military rolling through. Fleet Week's cool. Yeah, I walked through.
The Marines are here.
I had about a dozen men and ladies on the corner block up from Rotos in use. I guess it was Eastern or Fleet. And I walked down with a dozen of them, all in their whites today after I parked my car.
Did you thank them?
First thing I did, I said, thank you for your service. I said, you need a restaurant recommendation. If you need a beer, there's a place called Max's down here. He's got a lot of variety.
He saved himself.
I told them I was doing the show at Coopers. I told them that Ekabin is a phenomenal, unique place. I told them Amici's is a great place. I love the city.
Look,
I
don't care where you promote. Just promote and tell people to come down here. That's it. Once they find Max's, they're not going anywhere else. So that's all I care about.
What's that Baltimore shirt says? Baltimore, I kind of like it.
I kind of like it.
Ron Furman is here. I hope he's a Gold Rush Sevens doubler winner. We'll be giving these away at Costas and Dundalk on Thursday. We're there before the Orioles dispatch of the Yankees from 1 to 4. And then on following Tuesday, we're going to be at Pappas in Parkville, also giving these away, courtesy of our friends at Liberty Pure Solutions, Clean Water, as well as Jiffy Lube Multi-Care. I got to come up and have a beer. I want to do the show at your place one day, even though you don't have a crab cake. Can I do that? Can I come by?
I'll even make you a crab cake.
No. Well, it would be the Furman family.
Well, you know what?
You'll come to Cooper's and import.
We smoke all our own pit beef.
I know
pit
that.
Turkey. We smoke our wings. We do a pretty good job.
You've taken
menu.
good care of me over the years, like when I've come in and gotten food from you. But I really want to come down and just have some beer. I haven't sat at your bar and had a proper beer in a couple years.
Why don't you bring the wife? We'll double.
I'll do it up. That would be a great night. We'll come to Cooper's and get a crab cake. No, you don't like them that much. We're going to stay in the best bar. That's right.
I love.
Not even Slancha? No.
I love both places. I love Patrick. I love his employees.
I want to ask you something, too, because Patrick talked a lot about this last week. Because he and I went old school, and this is the beauty of me doing this for 40 years and me knowing you forever. I see all the old T-shirts up here, the Cooper's T-shirts and the original Cooper dog. And I had Patrick going up at his place, and I said, man, when did I meet you? 95, 96? I said it was during Homicide. And I tended bar here with Richard Belzer and John Seda, the actors, like literally at this bar. And it was around Christmas time. I think it was a Toys for Tots, or it might have been it was a fundraiser for a cause of some kind.
Here or at my place?
Here.
Okay.
It was here.
Because we did a Toys for Tots once.
It was 27, 28 years ago, right? So I brought this up
You don't
with
have
Patrick.
to remember.
And the thing that it brought to him is his mind went back to what that building across the street was, which was a decaying, decrepit eyesore that was being used as a prop, like in a television show, and that it was the police station and had a fake police badging on it.
People still come down here
and think it's the police station.
and they want to know what happened to the police station.
And it was never a police station.
And it never was.
It was a ratted out warehouse
In fact,
on the water.
people used to go there and knock on the door if they needed a cop, if they needed to report a crime, thinking it was a real police station.
All right, so I would say this to you, because you're old and you're tired and you're cranky.
No, I'm
and
not.
I am. Well,
I'm
we
happy.
are.
I'm with you. I'm happy.
I know, but we're all a little cranky that the city has challenges, it has problems, and we're trying to measure progress. And Fox 45 sets its cameras up here waiting for bad stuff to happen. I see it all, right? And the Atlas people are involved in this, and I pick the city up. But then you talk about things that are real progress from the time you built down here and you came here with bands, and Patrick built his life down here from Mount Washington and building 2 businesses and all the things, 10th Street, all the places, the horse, all these places that are down here. This thing over here at the Pendry is a bit of a miracle, right? I mean, the money that came into it to anchor the community with this very elegant. First time you walked through there, you must have crapped your pants. You must have been like, this is unbelievable what they've done.
It's wonderful what they've done. It's
I
incredible.
mean, that's a real investment in our community.
Yep.
Well, these are good things that are going on here.
There's a lot.
I like to point that on.
You take the bad and it's this much. The good,
I love to hear you say that.
This is.
What do you love about Baltimore these days? What do you love about still being here?
I love that it's. How do I put this? It's still. It has so much potential.
The bones.
And it has what it takes to be one of the greatest cities. We just need to come together as a city. Stop fighting each other and make it happen.
Well, and that's the beauty of you and Patrick. Patrick putting this together. The military comes in, so we're going to do a Fleet Week. The mayor gets behind it.
We need more events like this.
This is a manufactured event, and where Preakness isn't manufactured, right? Like 4th of July, all of those sort of holidays that are baked into this. But this is a little bit of a manufactured thing that, like Fells Point Festival was a manufactured thing that brought us all down here in October, my birthday, every year, right? You have oyster festivals that Patrick's done, that other people do down here. It's the creating something, build it, and they'll come, right?
Look what I'm wearing.
Look, you can run your Fells Point Oyster Fest 2023. I'm doing 26 oysters in 26 days in September for Oyster Recovery Partnership. I just talked to them last week, so I'm going to be back for some oysters.
Can I join you for that?
I would love for you to join me for that.
I'll be with you.
I'll make a stop then at Max's is what I'm going to do. All right, we're going to take a break. I'm going to say goodbye to Ron Furman because his grandkids, daughter, wife, friends, bands, planes, boats, all this is going on. But I love you, and I know your mom's struggling. I want to send her some love as well, make sure we're good. But thanks for always being a friend. You've been a friend for 40 years.
I was texting my daughter, to try to get her over here, but oh well.
Every time I called
anyway,
410s.
Say that again.
I said we've been a friend for 40 years. I said yeah. I mean, I've known.
You're old.
1986. You
How
got
come
Max's.
You don't have the gray hair.
A couple in here, but that's it.
They're coming.
Well, if I look as handsome as you when I go gray, I'll just be fine. I'll let it all grow out. The only reason I grow people say, why do you have the soul patch?
So you don't get carded?
No. The soul patch is dark. If I grew all of mine out, I would look like you.
Well,
all
you know
of
what?
this is
For
gray.
a long time,
this is all gray.
This was all brown, and this was gray. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, my.
The boss is coming.
Oh, the boss is here. Hold on. Do I have a microphone plugged? I don't even have a microphone plugged in for her. Do I have to plug?
She can yell in my face.
Hold
She'll
on.
do it
Hold
real
on.
easy.
Hold on. I'm gonna do what I rarely do here. We were about to sign off, and you were about to not get a lottery ticket. So in the spirit of. Because when Gail comes
You're
in,
on
we
camera,
gotta,
by the way.
By the
so
way,
you
wave
have
to everybody.
Smile.
So you have to smile. She knows that. She's done the show before. So hold on to this here. I'm going to do this, and we're gonna set this up. And Gail's going to join us here because you walked in right at the end of the segment, and I just want to say this to you. That we were talking about one of my favorite topics as we get going here.
Our sex
one of my
life.
favorite.
It was a real short. It was a short conversation.
It was almost better than that. We were talking about what we love about Baltimore, and why we love it, and why we're still here, and why planes are flying, bands are playing, beer is flowing, crab cakes are happening. You guys are invested in this for 40 years. What makes Baltimore and Fells Point great?
The people.
Oh, good answer. Better than mine.
See,
Well, anything
I waited
she says is better.
41 minutes for you to come here and fix us.
It's the people. It's the people who work here, the people who live here, ownership, the people who come to visit from all over. It's about the people.
I've been in here about 3 hours. It's all Phillies fans today because the Phillies are here. And I had a family of four here. A boy maybe 9, a girl maybe 6, 2 youngish parents in their mid-30s, all Phillies up. The little boy had a Phillies hat, shirt, and everything. And they're like, we love coming down here, man. This city's got everything Philly doesn't have. We got water. You walk around, my kids.
Yeah, and parking would have been $60 in Philly.
Right, exactly. But we walked around, like they left here and they had smiles on their faces. Their kids were happy. Their kids were going to the pool. They were going to the game. They were going to the Babe Ruth Museum today. And they could not. They're like, we love coming down here. And I'm thinking, why is that not on the news in Baltimore? You know,
Right.
literally.
You're right.
Well,
But-
did you interview him?
No, the show hadn't started yet.
But we have all the naval and Coast Guard people in our place, and they love it.
Well, here's what I'm gonna
They
do.
love to come here.
I'm going to take a break. I'm going to wrap here. I think Bill Cole's stopping by, but I'm not even sure. And I'm going to have a beer with you guys on the way out of here. On the way up,
Deal.
I'm going to stop and get
Great.
a beer. Because I called your daughter about a year ago. Fell in love with this German beer, Kolsch. Man, it saved my wife's life. German. So we go over to Germany. I like this beer. I thought, because I have the little, oh, look at that. Hold on. We got to put that up. Babies. We got babies. See? The little
She was driving the
That's a
tank.
tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I called your daughter, and I said, I want to get the Zuner beer. She said, got to come during Oktoberfest. It's the only time you get it.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come during Oktoberfest.
Wonderful.
I'm
But
going to make
you're
a
gonna
day
come
of it.
right now, so.
I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to get organized here. I have not had any beer yet. I've been in Fells Point 4 hours. That's a mistake, right? That's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem.
All right, I'm going to go to Max's on Broadway. We're at Cooper's.
Max's
no
Taphouse.
longer at North. Did I say Max's on Broadway again?
Yes, you did.
yes,
I did it
you
the last time, didn't I?
Showing your age.
I'm sorry. When I see you, it's Max's on Broadway. That's what it is to me.
You know what? Nostalgia.
It's what it'll always be to me.
Nostalgia's good. It's great.
I'll always be Nasty Nestor to some people. To you, I'm just the kid who was the music critic, right?
Right.
Literally,
You're still
right?
a kid.
Do you remember the first time you met me, or do you have any recollection of that? I was a kid, man. I was like seriously 19, 20 years old. I was a kid.
You're asking me to put the Wayback Machine on and go
Yeah.
back that far?
Well,
Jeez, come on.
I remember coming into Max's and seeing it. We went through all the bands a minute ago. The Himmelman, the R.E.M. We told all the greatest hits. Roger Bird, we didn't tell any of that. McGuinn, the Birds,
Oh, my God.
Roger McGuinn.
Do you-
from Birds?
Roger McGuinn, when he was playing at my place, I had just gotten Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it was like, we're going back Windows 95. I don't know what it was. No, it was
On your
before
computer.
95.
Okay.
It would have been, this was like in early 90 maybe.
So he's marveled by this.
And no, he showed me how to use it. He was an expert. He learned how to fly using Flight Simulator.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine. All right.
Fly up,
Gail and
plane for
Ron,
me.
go make some more grandchildren. Go sell some more beer. We have good people here in Fells Point. If there's nothing else we need to know, there's good people down here doing good things. I appreciate Patrick, Samantha, everybody here, Colin, the whole crew, for making me feel at home. Our friends at the Maryland Lottery, as well as Liberty Pure Solutions,
I
keeping
got a
our water
winner.
clear.
Should
You
I
didn't get
scratch
one.
this? Should I scratch this?
Scratch.
while I'm on-
Don't
on-
sniff, though. It's not a scratch and sniff. We gave those out last year. We did. At Christmas, they had peppermint ones. They were scratch and sniff. They smelled like peppermint. My whole bag smelled like peppermint. All right. Also, our friends at Jiffy Lube Multicare. We're down here at Cooper's. We're doing it live. It is Baltimore Positive. I'm Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Fleet Week and good stuff happening here in Baltimore. Get down.